Hello, my dear friends. In response to several requests, today I am going to embark on the T-Rex adventure. I already own a PT T-Rex and a vanilla T-Rex, but you can never have enough T-Rexes. My journey begins with me accepting a nest invitation, because I wanted the whole experience to be very eventful and not just boringly raising my T-Rex on my own. And believe me, it will be very eventful. So I spawned in a nest with two loving parents. John then had a trophy for me to take away after I had completed the quests in the nest. I don't know exactly why, but I assumed that the two of them would accompany me. John thought it was funny to consider this my first mission as a newborn. And he was serious about this tradition. And unfortunately, I behaved just as stupidly as a newborn. I ran to the waystone instead of the home cave. Don't ask me what went wrong in my pea brain. At some point, however, I realized my mistake. Of course, not when I was almost there. And I set off, now much further away, on my way back to my home cave. My parents eventually noticed my disappearance, because the home cave wasn't that far away. So I got to tell them this super embarrassing story, too. Great. I was lucky not to encounter anyone and was able to regain my strength in the nest. However, my parents were not near the nest, and I felt completely helpless in Green Valley. So I sprinted towards my parents' markers and hoped I wouldn't get caught. As sadistic as John was, Fresher was just as caring. She always checked to see if I could keep up and defended me to the death. But suddenly, when I realized I no longer had parents, I just ran away. I wanted to put as much distance as possible between myself and this hellish area, but John only threw me out because he thought the quests would reset. Crazy idea, but maybe he should have just said so beforehand? And my wonderful mother came straight towards me. Oh, I love this player for his sweetness. In the meantime, I had gotten a younger sibling. I tried to do a few quests because I would never grow out of it that way. Since the pond in GV was empty, we had to migrate to BQL. On the way there, the two wanted to fight two friends. However, the fight didn't last long. And so I was able to tinker with my skills a little alongside the body. And maybe I also took a look at the skins. Then we finally moved on. I tried to do a few more quests without making a big fuss. Then there was a refreshment break. And here too, Freshest is simply a model teammate. I decided to quest because I wanted to grow up too. Thankfully, no one attacked me while I was doing that. I found my family again and regained my strength at the nest. The two had already found a new trophy. And since my sibling was on cooldown, I had the honor of bringing it to the home cave. But I didn't get very far. My parents noticed me, but unfortunately, it was too late. My family picked me up and I respawned at the nest. My sibling was visibly concerned. See that little son of a bitch? He's going to ruin the game for me. My parents were able to scare him away, but at that point, we didn't know what kind of hell spawn we had encountered. Freshest was once again the sweetest person in the whole world. But suddenly, the battle timer started. My parents killed a carny, and when my brother was on his way to the nest, battle timer. It was the Capro, again, and again. And that was probably only 2 minutes in real time. Some cons wanted to kill an AFK baby Appa, and I tried to block him. Thankfully, we weren't the only ones who thought that was stupid. And then, my moment. The dirty Capro was attacked by the two conks, so I picked up my little stinky feet and ran. But then, I heard footsteps behind me. Capro's footsteps. That couldn't be, could it? Did he stop fighting just to kill me? I really hadn't expected that and hoped to just shake him off. But unfortunately, this little psycho was so intent on harassing us that I couldn't escape him. His first bite was also much too close to the home cave, but I was dead anyway. In the end, I lost the desire to continue playing, so I logged out. New day, new luck? First of all, I had to get out of there. And since I no longer had a nest, I had to make sure my food level didn't get too low. So I set out on a quest. I had to grow bigger quickly so that I could defend myself in an emergency. What worries me are not the apex predators, but the mid- or low-tier packs that lie in wait for me. In a quiet place, I first selected new skills, because I had now become an adult. Of course, I heard extremely loud footsteps again, and tried to sneak through the area. But it was also clear to me that I couldn't quest here without danger. A quick stop at the pond and the wild ride continues. And since I was already quite hungry, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to kill this critter. Well, unfortunately, things turned out differently than expected. Barely 2 meters further on, footsteps again. And of course, you could say, just take a chance and fight. But no thanks. Then I'd be a juvenile forever and never get to experience anything exciting. Thankfully, I was able to sneak around everything and actually managed to circle every opponent. I was extremely hungry again, so I had to interrupt my stalking for the hunt. I just hoped that no one would notice the unnecessarily loud biting noises. I know why I don't like to grow out huge targets. I wanted to go over to Grand Plains, and from there down the riverbank to Birch Woods, but unfortunately a few aloes intercepted me, whatever they were doing on that side of the river. Even though I fought back, I didn't do enough damage to make a difference. So, dead again. I spawned in White Cliffs, and since I was heading towards Desolated Pass anyway, it worked out well for me. If only I hadn't died and lost all my growth. In the savannah, I was finally able to complete my Waystone quest. While questing, someone wrote in the local chat, "Great, at least I'm not alone." Yep, and even though I reacted quickly, secured a reasonably good position, and tried to exploit my potential, I later saw on the recording that it was hopeless anyway. They were just waiting for their friends to mercilessly overrun me. When I saw that, I knew I didn't stand a chance. At least I hadn't regained that much growth before. Still annoying. And now it gets really creepy again. I was questing, and we all know that I turn around about 20 times a second, and suddenly, how mega creepy is that? A T-Rex emerging from the fog? I made friendly calls, but nothing came back. The fact that he was sneaking around was already a bad sign. Nope, no response. So, bye. I tried to run away, and those incredibly loud footsteps echoed behind me again. I knew I had more stamina, but I was also taking smaller steps. Were we about the same speed? Could I keep this distance? 1,000 questions raced through my mind. His silhouette kept reappearing. His footsteps could be heard further away than his outline. I kept turning around. I kept seeing him appear in the fog. The only thing missing was his eyes glowing red. I thought I could fool him by swimming over, and then back again. It seemed to work at first, but unfortunately, he noticed the trick. My steadily declining stamina didn't help the situation. So I decided to keep running until I thought about how long this was going to last. I hid in some bushes and wanted to log out safely. But then I pressed no first, which is particularly advantageous in such a situation. Those footsteps, growing louder and louder, still haunt me in my nightmares today. I would have liked to have grown the T-Rex that day, but logging back in afterwards was too dangerous for me. So, for safety reasons, I waited 24 hours before returning to my bunker bush. Are the apex carnivores tracking me somehow? Those loud footsteps were finally harmless, and, surrounded by herbivores, I was finally able to quest again. It also meant I had more options if another carnivore showed up. I went to safer but, for you, more boring areas, and managed to grow to sub-adult. Now, I didn't want to die under any circumstances, even though I wished my experience points would increase a little faster. To grow faster, I wanted to build a nest and started collecting mud. I had already made quite a bit of progress when I suddenly heard noises. At first, I thought it was a crocodile, but it wasn't. It was two Spinos, and I just hoped that they might be friendly. I drank some water at the lake, and when the little Spino came, he made noises as if he were chatting. And if he tattles that I'm here, he's probably not doing it to admire the cute T-Rex. And sure enough, they followed me. Quite a long way, in fact. So I'm pretty sure they weren't really friendly. Or maybe they thought T-Rex was really cool and wanted to say hello. Humiliated, I waddled on along the beach. So much for my nest-building plan. But by discovering a new area, I was able to do it. Finally. And with the restart, I logged out. I know this was not the most amazing gameplay, at least not in the end, but I really hope that you enjoyed it. Who shall we grow next?